our next speaker, our next faculty member, Carolyn Bell.
Okay.
And
Hi,
so
everyone.
Carolyn Bell, love her too. I love everybody though. Like, is it news? You know what I mean? I love everyone. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
So Carolyn, what do I say? Multi-dimensional healing. It's amazing. She does a lot of spiritual work. But before we get into that, you actually teach English.
I do.
You teach English, and you used to teach it in Saudi Arabia, and you would teach it to women.
Yes.
So besides doing the spiritual work that you do, you are an English teacher.
I am indeed.
Which I think is fascinating. And the fact that you did it in a country like, I mean, I'm from Turkey originally, so I do understand what the culture is like in Saudi Arabia. So for you to go there and, have this beautiful course that you're teaching to the women in Saudi, that must have been a bit of a challenge. But we can talk about that in a little bit. You're a multidimensional healer. You're an energy alchemist. I'm going to ask you about all this stuff. Medical intuitive, love and authenticity practitioner, indigo, second wave way shower. That I can't even say that slow, and I don't know how to say it fast. You have had a dramatic spiritual awakening. You love teaching. You're passionate about teaching. Have I forgotten anything?
Nope.
Awesome. So Carolyn, if you were going to sum yourself up and say, this is me, this is my mission, well, what would you say that would be?
My mission is for people to realize they're more than a physical body, that our physical body is just a small part of who we are. And we never walk alone in life because we have our guidance to guide us in life every step of the way. But most people don't realize that. And this was my mission back in the 1990s. And ever since then, this is where my life has been moving me towards, to this level, to come out away from the teaching. I've got years of experience teaching. I started teaching when I was 16. I actually said, no, I didn't want to do it. And the person asked me 3 or 4 times, and eventually I conceded. Little did I know this was my sole purpose. And I just want to teach people that there's more to life than what meets the physical eye. And this is really my passion, my mission in life. It's a great mission though, isn't it? It is a great mission. You say that and I can feel it in my fascia. Where's Patricia? So I totally can feel that going through my body, and it's totally true. What a wonderful mission to want to help people, to lift them to a place where they can say, instead of saying, no, I can't, they say, yes, I must. Yes. And going back to Patricia, I was actually born not awake. As a child, I was an indigo. I was one of the very early indigos. So can we explain what that means, indigo? Yes, an indigo is when I came in with more light than other people. I became in with a higher level of consciousness than other people. What the kids are coming in at the minute, what Patricia was talking about, the children of light. So I came in with more natural wisdom, if I may say so, more awareness. And how that showed up in my life was that I never got annoyed. I could be in situations and it just did not affect me. Do you think sometimes that, and I'm just sort of, the question just arose in my head right now. Do you think that all children are born that way and then maybe not nurtured? Definitely. I would have been teaching mainly children for 30 years of my life. My ex-husband and I had a private school, and I could recognize children coming in with the light. I knew immediately, right back to the 1970s, the 1980s, I could recognize this in children, but not all children. And of course, these children that had the light, quite often they were labeled as difficult children, but I knew differently, and I was there to support them. Because I recognized in them what was in me, and even their interest in nature, in the planets, their concern for the world, they just shone. Children of light just shine. They're such a caring nature.
That's amazing. So you got an interesting course that you're building in IAUSM right now. So what is your intention of what you're going to be teaching? Your courses, you're a relatively new teacher coming into IAUSM now, and you're just starting to bring your courses in. So what are you going to be teaching?
Well, the first course I'm teaching is to listen to your soul, basically, because we are connected to our soul, and our soul is residing in higher energies. Our soul is not separate from us. It's part of who we are. But most people don't have a connection with their soul. But our soul knows what our life purpose is, knows what we should be doing in life. And when we connect to our soul energy, when we are in alignment with our soul, that means we're working with our soul, we're moving in the same direction as our soul, our heart sings. We feel happy within.
So I'm going to, again, play out. I'm always going to ask questions that the attendants might have. So are you saying that people can move and opposite or in different directions than their soul?
Yes, when they're not doing what they should be doing in life, not doing what they're good at, doing what they naturally came here to do with a specific purpose, as we do decide that before we're born. We come deciding, what is our contribution to the world? What is it we're going to make a difference to the world? And when we're not on our path, then our energy becomes very low vibrational. We don't feel good about ourselves. When we're on our path, we feel lit up, like we all are today. We know where we're doing what our heart wants us to do. But whenever we're not on that path, then we get bogged down in our lower vibrational emotions that aren't sitting right with us. And so what my first course is about is, if we're going to be happy within, with an inner peace within, to be contented with our life, to feel fulfilled in life, then we should be moving into higher vibrational energy. And when we're caught up with life, because we're born into situations where we have no control over, but we have to deal with that in life. What my course is about is giving people, making people aware when they drop into this lower vibration energy, that is not who they are. They are naturally high vibrational energy beings, because we are part of our creative energy is actually God's source universe. So we're actually already have everything within us. So that's who we naturally are. But when our energy, our vibration drops, we are not in our natural energy. So what my course is doing is giving you tools and tips to immediately recognize when you're in lower vibration energy, and to raise your vibration up so that you are living more authentically in your true energy.
So what would you say? Now I'm going to ask you and I want to hear from anybody and everybody on this one, because this one, I don't want to put you in the corner with this one, because I don't know if I would want to be but the question arises in my head, so I'm going to ask it. What about in a case where, like, when we think about raising our vibration, moving, feeling better is to raise our vibration, right? We know that, we've heard it, we know it. What about for the person whose vibration is raised because they are happy because they're causing harm? There are some people out there who are happy causing harm.
That's a very good question, indeed.
You don't have to have the answer if you don't. I'm just like, it sort of just showed up for me. Like, I think of people who, there's criminals out there. There's people out there who are quite happy causing harm to others.
And what has just come in with that comment is that everybody is at different stages of their journey. And we came here to experience all the different stages. Life is about mixing with people who are not vibrating at your same energy. So life on earth is duality. It is coping with the people in lower vibrational energies. It's also coping with the people in higher vibrational energies and finding what sits right for you at your stage of your journey. So the people who are happy with low vibrational energy in their hearts that make them happy, they are simply at a different stage of the journey. And we need them for contrast, because it's part of realizing what makes us happy by seeing what does not make us happy. And life is about contrasts. And I used to remember, I used to ponder over this. Is it better to start off life unhappy and then become happy? Or is it better to start off happy and then realize, oh, there's more to life by being unhappy? So life, this is how we learn, through contrasts, because this is what the earth is. It's duality, experiencing the contrast.
Good answer. Good answer. And if anyone has anything that they would like to add, we've got one of the panelists saying fear is often a driving force behind those behaviors that is interpreted as happiness. So yes, very true. So a low fear vibration. You know, sometimes I think, and I'm taking us completely off topic, I don't know why this is showing up for me, so I kind of go with what is showing up. But in Canada, from when I was a teenager, there was someone that I'm using it as an example right now, who was a not so wonderful human being. He was an awful human being. People have talked to him and called him a monster. Some of you may know who I'm speaking about, Paul Bernardo. And, you know, I think about this man from time to time. I don't know why he comes into my head from time to time, especially when I'm teaching hypnosis, because he came from an environment the same as what he became. Right. So sometimes we only are what we know, what we've been taught. Right. So we are what we have been taught, and we don't know to make a different choice. Right. So when we see something like that, it's like, how do we, and a question I've always said, and maybe this is rhetorical, but how does someone like that find their high vibration when they don't even know that they don't know they should have a different vibration?
That is actually one of the points that I make in our course, because if we're at this level of vibration, how do we know what's higher? Because we've not yet experienced it. And this is actually, I was normal, as in not realizing to use my spiritual senses. And this is why my life has been in two halves. So I can understand what it was like before I had awareness. So that I am in a position to be able to understand and to show them the way as a way shower, because I've been there myself. Whereas if I had been born awake, I would never have understood what it's like to live an ordinary life, not realizing to use our guidance, not realizing that we never walk this life alone. But we have got so much guidance in many different forms, and just linking into our soul's energy and knowing to feel what's right and not right, that's only the starting point of the journey. You know, we can develop our other spiritual senses, which we all have intact. It's not that we don't have them, it's just that we don't recognize them. We don't know how to recognize them. And this is what my later courses will be developing, to actually start to recognize other types of internal guidance and other types of external guidance in our life too, which when you are aware to look for it, wow, it changes your life completely.
So there's a question here from one of our attendees, Melinda, and she's asked, what is your preferred way to raise your vibration?
I learned the hard way. I started my journey back in 1985 with really my spiritual awakening happening in the early 1990s. And the way that I was self-taught was by thoughts coming into my head and listening to them. And when I listened to them, my life flowed. But when I didn't listen to them, it was always, I should have listened to that. And it was through just really experience. The number of times I didn't listen, I always regretted. So
I think we've all had those moments, right? Where there's that screaming voice going, get out, and you don't.
Exactly. Well, my life changed. Well, in two ways, by starting to listen to the guidance and then being shown deeper and deeper guidance. And the other one was actually by stilling my mind, because my mind was really, really busy. I was all over the place all the time. I would be talking to you, changing the subject, and then coming back to what I was talking about. And to be aware and recognize guidance, you really have to still your mind. So you're not preoccupied with life around you all the time. But part of you is aware that guidance can come in, and it's like a dream. You don't catch it. If you don't catch it and concrete it in by either saying it over to yourself, writing it down, or I used to throw a stone. I used to throw my slipper at my bedroom door, and then in the morning, why is that slipper there? I remember. So stilling your mind is a very important thing, so that you are aware of what's happening inwards as well as what's going around you as well.
Interesting. We've got a comment here from Diana Cairns, recognizing that there is a higher power, and if something feels missing in our soul, we must acknowledge it and release it. Understand old patterns and behaviors, and then focus your true essence and increase positive vibrations.
Exactly.
For sure. You know, I've got this new way of looking at things. I used to say release too. And I think we've all been taught to say the word, release those things. But I think it's actually the opposite. And I'm just going through this now, and it's more about embracing those things more so than releasing them. It's about bringing them into our light, and then, almost sending them, changing the energy of them rather than releasing them out into some, out there. And I think when you bring it in, you can almost change the energy of it. So I think it's more about, I'm feeling like it's more about, because I've always used the word release as well, but I feel like that word is not relevant for me anymore anyways. So it's more about embracing those things rather than releasing them.
And it's also about reclaiming back to who you were originally, that God source spark of energy that is within you. And it's just that light within you has just been dimmed because of the so many interferences. And many of them are not our fault at all, but it's just our environment that we have been in. And it's about recognizing them and transmuting them, changing the energy into beautiful love energy.
Absolutely. And it's about using the right words. I think, like, Diana's saying, yes, that's right. Embrace, and it's a, every word has a vibration and frequency. So we have to make sure, as we're evolving, that we're allowing our language to evolve, and the words that we're using may no longer be the best words. The words that we were taught when we began doing our journey might have been effective at that time, but it's about also being, as teachers also have to go, is the language I'm using relevant anymore?
Exactly.
I've been doing that a lot lately. It's like looking through old courses that I've got that I want to bring into IAUSM and stuff, and going, is this content relevant anymore? It was really relevant at the time, but do I need to change it? Do I need to upgrade it?
Mm-hmm.
and it's really about paying attention to that as well. Anyways, I'm just babbling right at this moment, but you've got this great, so what were you going to say?
So as you were talking, something came into my head, and it was about the soul. People, when they have that inner voice, doubt it. They think it's their imagination. And I remember one day, about 11 years ago, I was just meditating and listening to the inner voice. And my son came home early. And I remember being surprised that he came home early, and he was walking up the stairs, and my attention was drawn to him, thinking, why is he coming home early? And then I realized this little voice was still talking. And then I knew it was like a complete embodiment. I knew that was not me. I knew that was my soul, who has a consciousness of its own memory, which is separate from myself, yet we are part of the whole. And that to me was a big turning point with my development, with my evolution, that our soul is part of us, but it has its own consciousness and its own memories. This is how it knows everything about us. We come to Earth with our memory wiped because we have to navigate this life for learning, and we don't realize that we have this guidance that we can tap into.
So, I was saying we things are evolving. I totally agree. And I've had this question lately. I'd love to hear what you think about it. And also the other teachers that are coming in, give it some thought, and I'd love for it to hear what you're saying about it. But I'm starting to feel like, and maybe it's just me, that, since I think that idea of soul was when we were taught traditionally that energy, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call that other energy outside of you, was outside of you. And we were codependent upon this thing that was outside of us, or I'll call it a thing, but just for the sake of this conversation, this thing that was outside of us. And then, we started moving into this new evolution that we're moving into, and our soul was in us. So our soul was, almost had to answer to this higher power at some point when we pass. So now I sit down and I think, wait a second, we are interdependent. That's the new evolution. We are interdependent. So if we're interdependent and we are all that energy, it's almost like saying, here's a word I'm going to say that freaks people out. It's almost like saying, I am God, I am universe, because I'm all part of this one thing. Not that I think that I'm all powerful and over everybody, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm part of this interdependent energy, which then means, is there really a soul, or is it the whole thing is spirit?
Well,
is there this separate soul? It's just a question, something I've been tossing around in my head,
My understanding is that our soul is part of our energy. So we have a physical body, we have our soul, we have our spirit, and our soul actually houses our spirit. Our spirit is our connection to source energy, and our soul is our direct connection to the physical body. But we are energy, but our energy is part of the greater energy, because we all have that God spark, creative energy within us. So we've been individuated to come on our journey of learning. But at the end of the day, we're all together. So we should be working all together and helping people, rather than trying to be trying to look after yourself first. I mean, my attitude has always been, I look after everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. So just some things like I'm always banging ideas around in my head, because I think the thing is, I always want to make sure that I'm not inside. I don't limit my learning, because I think sometimes what I've found is that I used to do it, I get this is the way that it is. I get sort of kind of a thought of what things were. And then like what I believe now and what I believed 10 years ago are so different. like I've moved forward so much in my belief system, right? So and I think it just comes from just always going, so is what I'm believing still the thing? Like, so and I always love throwing the questions out there to see what everybody else thinks, or am I just alone in this thought process? So
we're always changing. We're never static. So as we change, we learn, we evolve, and we get higher and higher levels of understanding.
So Lori McCleary is asking, intuition is what we're talking about. She wants clarity of knowing of what we're talking about. Is this intuition?
Intuition is part of it. Inspiration is part of it. External guidance is when things happen, like my computer a few days ago in the middle of the night switched on by itself. Guidance is so wide. Definitely our intuition is using our spiritual senses, connecting into them. I have heard audible voices inside of me. I've heard audible voices outside of me. Your guidance comes in many different forms.
This is true.
Yes. So, but once you open yourself up to guidance, then it just opens and opens and opens, and you live your life knowing that you are protected and knowing that you're guided. And that's a wonderful feeling, that you're not ever alone. You're never alone. There's always, and it's not just guidance from one consciousness, but many consciousness. You've got different, I call them helpers. At different stages of your life, you've got different helpers coming in to give you the guidance, that next step, and you're only given that next step.
Awesome. So hopefully, Lori, that answered you a little bit. If it didn't, if you need more clarity, please do ask. And as we move in with the other teachers, we will definitely keep getting you the answers that you want on that. So you've also offered a gift in the loop bag. So yes, that's for all the attendees of this. And it's your favorite tool called Stilling the Mind, Opening Up Sensitivity to Spiritual Guidance. So if you can just give us a brief synopsis of what someone can hope to get in that.
If you have a busy mind, that you're always churning thoughts over and over and over, and you cannot sit still, maybe even for 30 seconds, and just have an empty mind, then this is for you. It shows you, it trains your mind to actually be present in your body, to be present, to shut off yourself from the world, and that lets you get inside and start listening to your inner guidance. And that actually, this tool that I'm giving you changed my life. It really did. It was what was needed so that I could actually be consciously aware of my guidance.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of IAUSM. Where are you located now, just so everybody knows?
I'm located in the north of Ireland, part of the UK. In
Ireland? I know that. I do really bad Irish accents. You don't even want to hear them. All of a sudden I sound like I'm from the Caribbean, so you don't want to listen to it. So that's awesome. I definitely one of my go-to places. One of these days I want to definitely go to Ireland.
It's beautiful.
So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of IAUSM and bringing your beautiful energy and your beautiful passion into IAUSM. And I believe don't have a lot of time right now, but I do believe you're also going to be you're considering bringing in an English teaching course into IAUSM, which I think will be so beneficial for so many people. So thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being a part of IAUSM.
Awesome. Thank you.